Hey, I'm Steph. I'm a motivator, creator, small business owner, and educator. I'm a lover of all things health, spirituality, inspiration, and business. These are just a few words to describe me, along with passion, grit, and resiliency. Regardless of what I'm up to, I am soul-driven to create a purpose-filled life and find the advantages in adversity, all while keeping a smile on my face.
Soul Driven with Steph is a podcast that will fill up your cup and leave you feeling empowered, inspired, and on fire as you listen to interviews and stories of other soul-driven and strong women that have overcome against all odds. This podcast was a calling on Steph's soul to serve, connect, and share stories of struggles and successes, all to create a community so that you know you're never alone. Grab a cup of coffee, get ready to learn, laugh, and leave with wisdom and strategies to connect to your soul and get back in the driver's seat of your life today. Here's Steph.
Welcome back to the Soul Driven with Steph podcast. I am very excited for our episode today because we have not one, but two guests on, Lia and Briar, who also happen to be sisters and their entrepreneurial journey together. So I'm very excited to have you ladies here today. Thank you for being here, and we're going to have a great conversation.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks so much for inviting us.
Yeah, so I'll kind of direct questions. I'll popcorn it to one person, and then if the other sister wants to add anything, you can as well. How does that sound?
Sounds like a good plan.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, your sisters working together, how fun. As you probably know, my sister and I are very close. We have worked together. We worked together in real estate. We co-founded Small Business Sister Circle together. And there's just something truly special about being really close with your sister and having this like passion and dreams and desires that you get to motivate and push and share with each other. So tell us about your upbringing in entrepreneurship, because I'm always curious if this is something that you were just, it was normalized for you growing up, or it was something that you both just decided to do. So Lia, why don't you start? Tell us about your upbringing in entrepreneurship.
Well, I've witnessed it my whole life. So our mother started the dance studio, the family dance studio, with our grandmother when I was just one. So I've witnessed entrepreneurship since I was a baby. And then Briar started her own business as well. And so I've seen it, and our older sister started a Pilates studio and owned her own Pilates studio with a partner for a while as well. So I've really grown up with entrepreneurship, and I was never particularly interested in it, to be honest. I thought that looks like a lot of work and a lot of stress, a lot of pressure. But it's been my whole life. And so I think it actually comes very naturally, and it was a natural kind of fit for me really in the end. But I was hesitant about it for sure, because I've seen the behind the scenes forever.
Awesome. What about you, Briar?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think witnessing our family members own their own businesses was really a motivator, and it showed me sort of all the benefits of being an entrepreneur, and motivated me to want to become an entrepreneur myself, and just having the freedom that can come along with it if things are done in a really organized way. So for me, growing up with entrepreneurial family members was a motivator. Kind of the opposite to Lia.
Yeah, I love it. Well, and I should just say as well, we've connected through your mom, Jane, who owns a dance studio, and we have known each other through more than just great dancing for some years now. So she was the one that kind of connected us together, and I always love talking to other young female entrepreneurs that come up and are like kind of brought up in this entrepreneurial world, because I do think it shows, like you said, Briar, so many of the possibilities and just the opportunities for freedom, for growth, for pursuing your dreams, all of those things. So what are each of your backgrounds? I know you had kind of mentioned Briar had a business, your older sister had a business. What was your background in small business ownership before creating your own together?
Yeah, so I'll jump in there. I had a fitness and wellness studio in Toronto for 13 years. And we did Pilates and personal training, group exercise classes, and mindset coaching. So that was sort of my main sort of introduction to running my own business. I started really small and it slowly grew over time. And I really allowed it to grow in in small steps as opposed to trying to go all in and go too quickly and build too fast. I think that was a really important lesson for me in, allowing that growth to happen slowly. And then having other staff members come on board. And Lia actually did some work for me too behind the scenes, doing website stuff and working basically as a contract worker for me. So that's sort of after working in our family dance studio all those years, then I started my own fitness studio as well.
Amazing. And you said 13 years you had that business. So, as you know, that was my first business as well. And what did you learn from that first business that maybe pushed you into what you're doing now? Like, what was that transition like?
Yeah. Number one, you can't do it alone, that you need help in some way, shape, or form. I think that one of my biggest regrets with it was not having partnership from the beginning, because bringing on staff members was great, but still all those big decisions always landed on me. And I didn't have anyone to bounce ideas off of or feel like, we could make decisions together. So in starting our new business, The Balanced Entrepreneur, I knew I didn't ever want to go back into business solo ever again, that I wanted to do it in partnership and, needing to have that work-life balance, which is what our business is all about and helping people create. I did not have that in my business before. I was working 12-hour days and had a young family, and I was missing out on family time. And it didn't seem to matter, how hard I worked. In fact, the more I worked, the less balance I had, right? So that was something that I knew I didn't want to do again. And in creating our new business, that is all what our whole business is about, is helping others create balance in their work and their life.
I love it. And I can relate so much because that is truly why I transitioned out of my first business as well. And I felt like I couldn't start my family until I found a more balanced lifestyle. Because it was, like you said, 12, 14-hour days. A lot of those you were just on, giving energy to other people, having a team, but still feeling like everything was on you. I can 100% relate and agree. And I just love that, we can take all of those years of experience in our first business and translate them to create something new that actually gives us what we want out of small business ownership. And sometimes we have to experience the opposite, like the unbalance, to create what we actually want. So thank you for sharing that story. I can absolutely agree and relate. And I think a lot of other entrepreneurs can relate too. And that was a big catalyst for me creating Sister Circle, was because I felt like I didn't have people that I could necessarily bounce ideas off of that had the same type of ownership and responsibility as the CEO.
Right.
So surrounding yourself with other CEOs that also feel that level of responsibility too.
Yeah.
What about you, Lia? What was your kind of background before launching the business that you guys have now?
So I've been working in the dance studio for the past 12 years full time, and previously before that in more part-time capacity. So I've been working in the behind the scenes, the administration, running the business. And what made me want to start the Balanced Entrepreneur with Briar was really getting into the efficiency of running the business and finding better ways to run our business. And that really just got me really excited. And so I was really happy when Briar was also excited about these same things. And my journey with the dance studio started with 40 hours a week of doing administrative work, kind of a full-time position. And over the past 12 years, my responsibilities have only increased. I've taken on more and more of the responsibilities of the studio. I'm now, the financial manager and the business manager and a shareholder in the company. And I have been able to take on those responsibilities while decreasing my hours. So now I work kind of closer to 20 to 25 hours a week. And I have only increased what I do and the level of work that I'm responsible for. So I really have learned over the past 12 years the importance of being intentional with the way in which we work and very strategic with the way that we approach work, so that we're not just spinning our wheels and working, like Briar was saying, 12 hours a day, but not creating any more balance out of it, but that we're doing the right type of work in the right way so that we are moving our business forward effectively, but doing it in an efficient way. So that's what really inspired me to work with Briar and create this new business and help pass on those lessons that I have learned over the past 12 years and help other dance studio owners and other business owners integrate them into their business.
Yes. Awesome. Well, I love it. Let's now talk about the business that you have created together called The Balanced Entrepreneur. Where did this inspiration come from? And when did you launch? Kind of take us through just like the process of that and so where you're at right now in this business.
Sure. So we started thinking about this last summer, I think, right, Briar? Yep. So we had been fans of a process called Clockwork for many, many years and have implemented a lot of it into our studio. It is a book that was written by Mike Michalowicz, who writes a lot of books about entrepreneurship. And this is one of his Clockwork. And so being fans of Clockwork, we found out that they were starting to certify people to become coaches of the Clockwork process. So Briar and I started talking about it then last summer and started thinking about whether we wanted to do it. And we kind of went back and forth for a little bit. And then we decided to sign up and take the training. And so we did that training starting in January, and we launched the business in April, May?
Yep.
April or May of this year. Spring. Yeah. So that's where we're at. So we are a few months in and starting to work with clients and starting to spread the word about clockworking and business efficiencies, particularly in the dance studio industry, because that's the industry that we know. But clockwork is applicable to any industry, which is really fun about this process.
Yeah. Tell us more about the Clockwork framework for someone who is like completely unfamiliar. I know I have implemented it in my business. I have taught on it and like really encouraged many small business owners to get a hold of the systems in their business so that they can actually get that time freedom that they desire. But tell us about it. Give us an overview if someone's unfamiliar with it. What is Clockwork and how do you help small business owners implement it?
Yeah, so just like you said, it's about creating efficient and sustainable business. So, ultimately, we want the business to be able to run itself, run without the CEO or the business owner having to be in the day-to-day all the time. For Briar and I, we're really focused on what is the work that you love to do in your business and how can we give you the time and freedom and flexibility to do that work, right? So it's really a framework. It's a whole process that we go through to implement those efficiencies in your business, to create the systems that you need in your business and get it all running like clockwork, right? So that you can really have the time and freedom and flexibility that, like Briar talked about, was one of the reasons that I think a lot of people get into entrepreneurship, right? Is they are craving that freedom and that flexibility. And then the reality is the opposite, right? So this is a process and a framework to build that efficiency into your business.
Yeah, because oftentimes we get into small business ownership and we actually end up working ourselves into a job that is even worse sometimes than what we are coming out of or from, because it is more than a 9 to 5. When you're starting a business, like those first early years, a lot of times you are putting in crazy hours, and depending on what type of business you have, you might be really truly doing all the work yourself. So Clockwork really does help you hone in on what they call the queen bee role, right? Which is like what actually runs the business. Why do people come to the business? You can't let that go. But how do you support that? And how do you pull yourself maybe out of doing the queen bee role if that is something that maybe you don't want to do anymore? Or maybe that's the only thing you should be doing is that one role. And then you actually need to find and hire support around that. So how did this like look as far as maybe implementing it even into, is this something that Briar, you implemented it all in your previous business, or is it something more that you learned recently and now are able to implement in what you're doing now?
Yeah, Clockwork is something I wish I had when I was running my own studio. This is something that I've learned in the last few years, and we have really implemented into our family's dance studio business and really seen the benefits of adding all of the systems and procedures and steps of Clockwork into our studio, and what it has allowed for each of us as part of the leadership and management team to be able to do within our individual roles and within the studio as a whole, and then how that's affected our own personal lives outside of it. Like Lia said, increasing our job roles and responsibilities, but decreasing our work hours has really been interesting to watch as we've implemented the Clockwork system. And us all being really on the same page and being clear about what like our queen bee role is, what our big promises, what our day-to-day tasks should look like, and making sure that we as a leadership team need to be focused on day in and day out, but then also as the years go on.
So if someone is hearing this and this sounds great, like I need systems, I want my business to run like Clockwork, what is kind of the first step in getting this system implemented into your business?
So we sort of split the process up into 3 sections. The first section we work on is aligning your business. And this is the section that we'll talk about the queen bee role as well as some other things. So really, it's the focus is about making sure that we know the direction that your business should be heading in. It's sort of like the roadmap or your compass. It's where we always want to be going, right? Where we always want to know that everything we're doing is still going in the right direction, still moving in the right direction. It's so easy in entrepreneurship to get distracted by things and to get thinking, oh, someone else had a really great idea, I should implement that into my business. Oh, this person had a great idea, I need to do that. But we want to make sure that all of those great ideas are actually in alignment with where you want your business to go. So we really dial that in first. And then we look at a phase that we call integrate. And this is the phase where we really look at your time that you're spending in your business, what you are doing every day, and making sure we have an ideal mix of time. So we talk about different types of work that you can do in your business. There's a doing type of work. This is the day-to-day. This is responding to the emails, answering the phone calls, those type of works. There's deciding and delegating work. And there's designing work, which is that visionary work. So we look at these 4 types of work in your schedule of what you're doing and make sure that we have the right mix of them, right? Your business needs all 4 of these things, but we need to balance them in the right way. And then because we know what you're doing, then because we've looked at your schedule, we know where you're going, we can start looking at those things that you're doing and making decisions about whether you need to keep doing them or not, right? If you're doing certain tasks that don't help you in that alignment phase, that don't keep you moving in that right direction, can we start taking those tasks away? or cutting them down. So we're freeing up some of your time and we're creating more efficient systems and processes in your business. And we're going to capture those systems so that they're repeatable and easily passed on to other team members if you have team members, or easily passed on to somebody that you hire new into your business. So we can have a system that's captured, that's ready to go, and it's easy to delegate off. And then our last phase is the accelerate phase. And this is where we're looking at balancing your team, creating some metrics, and addressing your bottlenecks so that as the CEO of your business, you can step back from that day-to-day work, still have your pulse on the business, and know that the right people are doing the right work in your business. But you can start stepping back. And we're going to test all of this work by taking a 4-week vacation. So this is kind of the big thing that we're working towards in the clockworking process. We're at the end of this work, the CEO should be able to take 4 weeks completely unplugged from their business, and everything should run the way they want it to run and run effectively. We're using that vacation as a test to see if we've done the work correctly and we've done the work well. And if we haven't, there's going to be some holes that we need to come back and address. So that's sort of the outline of how we implement that process into a business. We work through the align, the integrate, and the accelerate phase, and we test it all with a vacation.
I love this. And this all takes time. I think that is the biggest resistance that I find when trying to teach, clockwork or systems to small business owners is I don't have time. But it's because they're not stepping back and doing even just the time analysis. I have challenged so many business owners who say, I'm so busy, I can't get anything done. I don't have any time to do a time analysis. And I would say 95% of them refuse to do it. And it's almost like a resistance to actually seeing what you spend your time on, right? So I think the biggest and I'm curious what you guys find the biggest resistance to a business owner, even getting going, implementing these systems is. What is some of the resistance that you encounter?
I think
just because I'm listeners are probably thinking this in their head right now.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think the time tracking and actually spending a few extra moments to get the big picture on your business is often the biggest challenge. Because like you said, people want to see change, they want to make changes, but the time of doing that work can be a little overwhelming. Time tracking is an overwhelming step. People are really excited to jump into the align phase. And then we get to time tracking and it's like, oh, well, I don't know about this. And they sort of back off a little bit. But, it is interesting because we work with our clients in 3 different ways, either private coaching, small group coaching, or we have a DIY program where people can sort of do it on their own and have a couple of coaching calls with us to help them out. And, seeing how things sort of work in the different avenues, it has been interesting because those who are trying to do it on their own, often will get stuck on a specific topic and they'll stay there for months and really obsess over it, or they will get to a certain point in the course and just stop because it's too overwhelming. Where coaching groups or privates allows us to help people walk through those sticking points and those tough points and make them see that there is easier ways to do these things. And it doesn't have to be so overwhelming. And it's a little bit easier for us to break it down. One of the very first things we do with people is a little quiz to see what areas of their business really need to be clockworked. And I think that helps to sort of open their eyes to see, okay, we need to get to this point so that I can work on this. And we also do discovery calls with every single person so that we can ask questions and understand where people are within their business right now and what their big goals are. So as we're coaching them, we can help remind them of that big picture and what they're working for and why, clockworking is so important for their specific business. Because for everyone, it's going to be a little bit different based on what their goals are.
Yes, absolutely. Let's talk about the vacation piece because that's what we're all going for, I think, is being able to actually step away from your business and be able to check out and not feel like you're constantly being pulled back in. And I know that was a big obstacle for me in my first business, was even when I had time away, I felt like I couldn't mentally check out because there were so many pieces of the business that were still tied to me, and or just not training up the right, systems or people to be able to handle situations on their own. So for me right now in my life, I'm preparing for a 2 to 3 month maternity leave, which I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the longest challenge of a vacation that I've ever had from my business. So it's scary, but it's going to be a really good test at the same time for me to see, okay, did I actually build this in a way that I can step away? So how many people, I'm curious, get to that 4-week vacation? Like they go through the whole process, and how long does that time frame usually take? I mean, is it 6 months? Is it a year? Is it more than a couple years to get there? What would you say most small business owners are able to accomplish, and what amount of time to get to that vacation?
It's on average, it seems to be about 18 months is the average to get to that 4-week vacation. So anywhere between 12 to 24 months, but that 18 months really seems to be the sweet spot. I think this really all depends on setting yourself the goals, right? Like we want our clients to book their vacations first before we start working, so we know the time frame that we're working within and we have that deadline to get there. We also are going to do test vacations, so we're not going to throw you into a 4-week. We're going to do a 1 week, a 2 week, and a 3 week. And after each of those vacations, we're going to come back and do a debrief with the business owner and their team to see what didn't work while you were away. What do we still need to address? What do we still need to work on? So that by the time we get to that 4-week vacation, we've done a lot of work in the business and we've really got a lot of things solidified. I think it's really all about the business owner and how motivated they are to reach that goal, right? I think it's really easy to set a goal. It's hard to follow through and do the work to do it. So everyone's going to be different and everyone's business is going to be slightly different. And if you have a bigger business, it might take us a little bit longer. If you have a smaller business, we might be able to get your vacation a little bit faster. So it really depends on where you are in your business journey, the size of your business, and how motivated you are to get there. If you're really motivated, we will make it work.
I think the big key there that Lia mentioned was setting those deadlines ahead of time. If we give ourselves 2 years, it's going to take us 2 years. If we give ourselves 12 months, we will do it in 12 months. And that works with everything in our life, right? Regardless of what our goals are. So you will sort of fall into whatever time guidelines you have set for yourself. And as coaches, our job is to make sure those goals were realistic and then to help you achieve all those milestones in working up towards that big picture goal.
That's awesome. Yes, I 100% agree. You give yourself more than enough time that you need, you will use all of that time and some maybe. So the deadlines definitely put some pressure on it and force you to dig in, because a lot of these systems and processes they don't feel urgent until they are, until you need to get away, until you have a family emergency, maybe your own health crisis, whatever that is. They just don't feel urgent enough to put in the work until you actually really need them, which is why it's so important to set aside that time, even if it's an hour every week, to just chip away at it, because you would rather have them and not need them than the other way around.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
For sure.
We like to say that the vacation is a great goal, but clockworking really is about sort of bulletproofing your business, because those life events or family emergencies are kind of inevitable. And we don't like thinking about them, but they're going to happen, and if you are in a family business like ours, then when a family emergency happens, there's not just one of you stepping out of your business. For us, it's 4 of us that are stepping out of our business to deal with a family emergency. And our business needs to be able to continue running because we have 550 families who come through our doors every week, right? So regardless of your individual situation, the vacations are a really fun thing to think about and to work towards. Being able to have a vacation where you're completely unplugged and not doing payroll or answering emails on the beach. But it's more about knowing that having that peace of mind that when something truly comes up that you can't ignore, that your business can continue to run.
Yeah. The vacation is the positive, but there could be negatives where you need to step away as well.
Yeah. And it's just going to add to that. This, like Briar was saying, it's bulletproofing. This is your insurance policy. And it's, similar, I think, to insurance or creating wills or building an emergency fund. A lot of people have a lot of resistance around these things because they take some work and they're not necessarily fun to, set up your will with a lawyer and, save money every month for your emergency fund and all that kind of stuff. It's not necessarily fun to do unless you're Briar and I, but it's really important to do because life is going to happen, like Briar says. And if you're not prepared for it, then the alternative is having to close your business, right? And for so many of us entrepreneurs, our business it's not a hobby. This is what feeds us, feeds our families, and supports our life. If we have to close it, that's going to have a huge impact, right? So this is not just about, getting a vacation, but it's really about protecting your business and all of the work that you have already done to build this business and everything that you've put into it. We don't want to see that just crumble or fall away because, whatever happens in life, right? So we want to make sure that this can survive and thrive, even if you as a CEO can't be there every single day. And that's why clockworking is so important.
Yes, absolutely. And I just truly believe that, why put in all of the work and effort to build up a business that you cannot either leave or step away from when you need to, when your personal life needs you, or when you are ready to move on to the next thing. I'm constantly telling business owners, like, can you actually sell your business? Because it's really hard, I think, to sell a small business when you don't have any systems and processes in place. Like, you're not really handing over anything other than maybe a client list and some marketing materials, right? So if you're going to spend your life and your time and your money and your energy pouring your heart into a business, let's at least make it worth something to sell when you are ready to either move on to something else or retire. It's not even just about stepping away from your business to take a vacation. It's about being able to move on to the next thing and get something out of all of the years of work that you put into. So I'm curious, do you work with clients who, like, they know that's their goal eventually someday is to sell, and they need the systems in place to be able to do that?
Yeah, for sure. Selling, retiring, passing on your business to the next generation, like what's happening with Briar and I in our family business. This clockworking can be value for all of those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it. Well, let's hear a little bit more about your personal stories and journeys. And I always like asking, like, overcoming questions of, like, what is a challenge in your entrepreneurial journey? Just because I think that's the conversation that we're having right now. What is the challenge that you faced, and how did you overcome that, and what did you learn from it?
That's a really good question. So I feel like in my life personally, there's been a lot of challenges that I've overcome, physical challenges, and definitely some business challenges. I think that it's been interesting. As a business owner, I feel like it's actually my personal obstacles that have affected my business that I feel like I have been able to overcome and work through, and be able to keep working. So one of my main ones, I have a disease in the bones of my hip, and I've had a number of surgeries over my lifetime. But one of my biggest surgeries was shortly after I had opened my new location of my fitness studio. and having systems in place and my staff organized and everything ready for me to take that time off was a lot of work to prepare for. But I was out for a number of months, where I not only could I not even come into my office, but I wasn't allowed to bend forward more than 90 degrees. Like, there was a lot of restrictions. So being able to physically take that time off, know that my studio was running, but then also knowing that I could come back slowly and as I needed to, was really important. But overall, with all of that, I think was there obviously was physical restrictions and challenges, but a lot of it was mindset and mentality. And whether it was about my mindset around my business and whether it was functioning and working well, or about my own abilities as a business owner and boss, and being able to sort of overcome those personal mental challenges, was something that I'm really proud of being able to do. But it was also a big challenge at that time.
I think the mindset thing is a big one for me as well. Being confident in the work that I have done and the experience and knowledge that I do have. And I think, so that's similar to Briar, that imposter syndrome thing, right? Of feeling like I don't have enough experience or knowledge to do this work. And yet I have all this experience and knowledge about this work. And so it's like Briar said, it's that mindset shift of being able to step into the experience I do have and owning that and feel comfortable with that and confident with that has been probably my biggest challenge with starting this business and putting myself out there into the world, right? I love being behind the scenes. I love being backstage. That's where my comfort place is. And being an entrepreneur is often different than that, right? You have to be on stage, you have to be in the front and be putting, networking and meeting new people and building those relationships. And that has been, I think, my biggest challenge, is shifting that for myself and feeling comfortable to do that.
Yes, coming from more behind the scenes to putting yourself out there in a new way as a business owner yourself. Absolutely. So I'm curious, what is next for your business? You both just launched this spring. I'm sure you're kind of gaining momentum now, but where do you see it going?
Go ahead, Lia.
So we have lots of different ideas of what we want to do, but I think, ultimately for me and Briar, you can speak for yourself on this one, but I really want to be able to be of service to other entrepreneurs and other dance studio owners and help them implement this, because like we talked about, I believe so strongly that this can have such a positive impact on entrepreneurs' personal lives as well as their business lives, and supporting the work that they've done and keeping it sustainable throughout anything that happens in life. I believe so much in this that I hope that our business can be of service to as many people as need it and are interested in it. And Briar, I don't know what you, but that's where I'd like our business to keep going and to keep just serving as many people and being helpful in any ways that we can be helpful with this knowledge that we have and experience.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And we have, like Lia said, lots of ideas on how we want to achieve that. We have a number of new courses in the works, sort of more bite-sized courses that focus in on specific areas of your business so that you can be working on those individually if the full system feels a little too overwhelming at the moment. We also would love to be able to speak on larger platforms at conferences, and work directly with business owners in that capacity as well, and really showing them that it is doable. We can implement this Clockwork system into their business and help them achieve those goals without them working 12 hours a day, and really having that balance in their life that they dreamt of when they first started their business. I don't think anybody goes into being an entrepreneur with the dream of working those 12-hour days, right? We want that time freedom, and it is possible. So we would love to help as many business owners as we can achieve that and really understand that they can have it all. We are mothers and partners, and being able to run businesses and still have quality time with your family or quality time to do whatever it is that you love doing is very achievable.
Yes. Awesome. Well, I'm very excited for both of you. One of my favorite questions to ask is, what are you most proud of yourself?
For myself, I think it really is just being able to overcome all those huge obstacles in life, and being able to still find solutions to them and be able to continue working towards my own personal goals. And that mindset piece, as we talked about before, is a huge part of that. But also, I think just, having an inherent desire to persevere and achieve my individual goals, I think is something that I'm really proud of for myself.
I think for me, I think it might also relate back to one of my biggest challenges of putting myself out there. I think throughout my life, I've looked for different ways that I could put myself out into the world. I am a very, very shy and introverted person, and I have done things like gone to theater school and done creative writing that I've shared with people. And all of those things were a way for me to try to express myself and put myself forward into the world when that is absolutely not my nature. And I think I am proud of myself for continuing to look for those ways that feel comfortable and doable for me to continue to show up into the world and share myself with the world.
I think that I was going to just quickly say, I think that's one of the bonuses of working with sisters or working with family. We know who each other are deep down to their core because we've grown up together. We've spent our lives together, and being able to remind each other of all of the things that we truly are great at, so that when one of us is having doubts, usually the other is in the opposition and able to boost us back up. Rarely do we, go into a negative mindset space at the same time. So having the other to sort of help balance us out has been really beneficial, and it's definitely been one of the bonuses of working together with my sister.
Yes, I can totally agree. And you can, yes, like you said, build each other up when the other person is doubting or feeling down or discouraged. You just know each other so well, which, I mean, that takes years to build that kind of trust and relationship with someone who you haven't known your entire life. So it is very special and unique, and I can relate to that as well. And that's truly like part of the reason why my sister and I started Small Business Sister Circle, was because even though we didn't have a lot at the time of friends that were maybe small business owners, we were really young entrepreneurs in our 20s. Not everyone in our age group was doing their own business. Most people weren't, but we had that like special support and bond with each other. And we knew that many small business owners didn't have that. So if we could extend that out to other people, just like we had for each other, what a difference that could make. So just acknowledging how special that sister bond is, and then being able to share that experience with other people. Well, one of my very last question, and because it is the Soul Driven with Steph podcast, I want to know, what drives your soul each day? What do you get up for each morning?
For me, it's really, like they mentioned before, knowing that we are helping people and making an impact in their lives, and seeing that change happen as their business evolves. So for me, that's the main thing. And then the other is being able to spend quality time with my kids, and the joy that brings myself every day. It's an exciting part of my day to get like my morning cuddles from my boys, and that's and be able to see them each morning. Those two things are what drives me.
Yes.
I have the same answer, the exact same answer. Yeah, I mean, being able to have that time with my daughter and my partner and feel like I can enjoy that and relish in it and not be constantly going in a million different directions with working full time in one business and starting a second business is really amazing. And definitely having that family time is what I wake up for sure. And it's really amazing that this second business that we're starting is able to be of service and be of help to other business owners as well.
Yes. I love it. Well, thank you so much, both of you, for being on today and just sharing your passion for helping small business owners and other women just achieve whatever it is that they want to out of their life, out of their business. For those of us that are interested in continuing to follow your journey and or just learning more about the Balanced Entrepreneur, where can we find you?
Go ahead, Lia.
Our website is thebalancederentrepreneur.ca.
Yeah, we're
can
also
find
on
us on
Instagram and Facebook too, so you can find us there too.
Perfect. I love it. Thank you both so much. And until next time, keep following what drives your soul.
Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Soul Driven with Steph. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to share it out with someone else who needs to hear this message. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so that you know when new episodes drop. And until next time, be sure to take care of your mind, your body, and your soul.